After a 3-year hiatus, Rudy and his very own Holiday Express has returned to the rails to spread Christmas joy to several towns across the KCS system. While in previous years we would be struggling to chase the train, this year would be very different. We were extremely blessed with an opportunity to volunteer as one of Santa's helpers for the first week of the Holiday Express's schedule. For several days we would be living aboard one of the finest trains in the US, but certainly not for free. As elves, we had several responsibilities and duties that you'll get a closer look at. We would begin in Shreveport for the employee show. Then after eating Thanksgiving with our families, we would head back to Shreveport, where we would leave for Monroe, Vicksburg, Jackson, and finally Meridian before hauling all the way back. The journey was certainly an amazing experience. I got to work with some truly outstanding people, and I cannot thank KCS and all of those involved with the Holiday Express for what they do. Being on this side of the event has definitely opened my eyes to what kind of hard work goes into the Holiday Express, which only increases my admiration to those involved, such as my fellow elves, the KCS crews, local volunteers, and our extremely talented group of porters that made our lives so much better. If any of you guys are watching this video, whether I met you or not, thank you very much for what y'all do. This video will be covering much of the scenes we saw roll by from the vestibules of the business train, along with some behind the scenes of elf life. I hope you stay tuned for this video because this one is definitely special. Now let's dive right in. Friday morning after Thanksgiving. While I'm sure many were fighting over a discounted pair of bed sheets, we were departing Duramus Yard heading for our first stop on the Meridian Speedway portion of the adventure, Monroe, Louisiana. A few minutes after 10 a.m. and we are on the move. We get to observe the heart of the KCS Railroad from a perspective I never thought I'd see. Power sitting everywhere waiting for assignments, several yard jobs, shuffling cars, and much more. The yard was pretty quiet on Thanksgiving Day, but now it is as busy as can be. One of our fellow rail fans on the grounds reported that upwards of 7 to 8 trains were departing the yard within an hour or two of us leaving. We'd be following several of those trains eastbound on the speedway. As we get clear of Duramus, we pick up a little speed as we make our way through Shreveport. Many thanks to our good friend Peyton at American Steel Productions, who was chasing the OCS for letting us use several of his video clips of KCS-1 highballing throughout North Louisiana. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Here we pass by a popular railfan spot in Shreveport known as Wilson's Alley, the former site of the huge Union Station passenger terminal and KCS Cafe. Soon after, we would cross the Red River into Bossier City. Once out of Bossier, the Holiday Express hits the throttle and we really start to pick up some speed. Enjoy some of the views from the vestibule of our home rails. Even in towns where the train was not scheduled to stop, such as here in Gippsland, crowds gathered around the tracks to get a glimpse of the bell racing by. In Grambling, our friend manages to get ahead of us thanks to us having a quick stop in Simsboro to allow a local to create some space between us. We were coming in hot into Ruston, Louisiana, home of my very own Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Shout out to my once high school and now college classmate for coming out to take drone footage of the bell as we made our way through Ruston. Just as we were putting the siding in Calhoun for a westbound, lunch was being served, so we took a break from hanging out the vestibule and had a nice warm meal. By the time we wrapped up lunch and got back out, we were being put into the next siding on the line for another westbound. This siding is known as Fitzmaurice, which is located in West Monroe. We would sit here until just before showtime. Once it was time, we crossed the Ouachita River and were spotted into downtown. The crowds were already eagerly waiting for the event to begin. Now, I'd have to get to work as an elf, but during my break, I would utilize my 30 minutes to film much of the event in progress. The city of Monroe had coordinated an excellent city event. Several vendors with gifts and snacks were spread all throughout the parking lot adjacent to the train. The origins of the train is traced back to a much smaller Santa train that KCS would run in the late 1990s. Several of the children would not have basic commodities such as warm clothes when attending the Santa train, and it became noticed. Many of the volunteers would aim to make the Christmas festivities much larger in scale. And thus, with the help of several dedicated volunteers and the conversion of some old freight equipment, Rudy and the Holiday Express was born. Now, millions of dollars has been raised in the well over 2 decades of the Holiday Express's existence. Being part of something that not only brings so many people joy, but also making a difference in these communities was truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This year's Holiday Express alone would welcome about 48,000 people on board and raise over $215,000 for the Salvation Army units across 20 communities. After every single child had toured the train and had their time with Santa, it was time to turn out the lights and get moving on to our next stop in Vicksburg, Mississippi. We moved through the dead of night, and the show at Vicksburg started off as a very wet event, so I decided not to bring my camera equipment. Luckily, the rain quit and the show was a success. With Vicksburg all wrapped up, now it was on to High Oak Yard in Jackson, Mississippi. After eating our dinner, we document some of the journey through the dark of night. The following morning, after breakfast and bagging, we'd be allowed to step off the bell for about an hour and a half to enjoy the sunlight. KCS number 1 was also in perfect lighting, so all the photographers got to clicking away. Along with the switch job, the rank and turn local was seen entering the yard. A pair of Jeeps was in charge, with one still being in the Gray Ghost paint scheme. After chatting with some local rail fans, we had to climb back on board so the crews could move the consist to refill the passenger cars with water. After servicing the cars, they would position the holiday consist and the show would commence. The following morning, we are bound for Meridian. This would be the last stop for the Speedway before the Holiday Express would turn back to Louisiana to begin working its way south. We start our morning off in the Kansas City Dome car with a nice warm cup of coffee. As soon as we arrived at Union Station in downtown Meridian, the F units would detach and run around to the other side of the train. But before it can attach to the Port Arthur observation car, the Jeep from the small KCS yard would couple to the Christmas cars and move them to the adjacent track.
We're teachers, we model. Why don't you model for us? Yeah, we need you to model for us. Yeah, me too.
Yes, really, sure. Yeah, this is how you do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now with the Jeep clear, KCS 1, 2, and 3 would move up to attach to the business train. This is about as up close and personal as a rail van could ask for. After the crews had everything secure, it was time to get to work. I did tell you that you'd be seeing some behind the scenes of elf work, so here it is. While some of the volunteers are busy vacuuming, scrubbing surfaces, and other cleaning activities, the majority of us are in the workshop car making gift bags. Every morning we would bag hundreds if not thousands of gift bags for children to have once they finish touring the train. Included in the bag is a coloring book, a puzzle, crayons, some lollipops and chocolate, and a souvenir keychain. While I was in line, I was in charge of putting puzzles and crayons in, and after the first few hundred, I got pretty good at it.
I'm gonna edit this all out.
Oh yeah. Don't say nothing too bad though. I'll hold it against you. Huh?
I want to be 6'4" and look like John Wayne.
I can work with that. Along the wall of the work car and the green caboose, several boxes of complete gift bags are sat down to await the many children that will be visiting the train tonight. Once all of the bags and boxes are full, Santa, who happens to be sporting his casual clothes this morning, blows the whistle to let his elves know that their work is done.
There you go, that's it.
The elves clear the workshop car and we have several hours of downtime before we have to report for duty. So while some go explore downtown Meridian, we find some photo angles. From the 22nd Avenue Bridge, we filmed KCS 2962 shoving the holiday cars towards some switches to get into position by Union Station. Personally, I'd never seen anything other than the F units pull this consist. While I'm sure that this has happened on countless occasions, seeing a Jeep pull the cars was very cool to me. Once set in position, we capture the former Frisco GP40-3 rolling back to the yard as it passes the passenger decks. We'd make a quick stop to the very cool Meridian Railroad Museum and visit with some of their staff. They have huge plans for the future and some great people leading the vision. As a rail fan, you have to check it out if you're in the area. I'll leave some of their information down below. The elves make their way to prepare for the last show of the trip. While I never did film an entire walkthrough of the train with all the lights on, I hope you enjoy this abrupt one I filmed before the show started. There are several fantastic walkthrough videos on YouTube, so I highly recommend you go give them a look. I'll leave one in the description below. With our biggest show yet, Meridian was a huge success. Now, it was time for us to head on back to Shreveport, where we would disembark and let a new crew of elves take over. For the first few hours back, we sat on the back of the Port Arthur observation deck, right up behind the F units. While I'm sure it probably wasn't the best for our eardrums, it was definitely worth being deafened. After an excellent night of sleep thanks to the continuous rocking of the rails, I woke up to find us coming into Shreveport, where I'd filmed the last few scenes from our view of the Bell. And just like that, our journey ends where it began, a wet and overcast day by the Bell House. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. I know I've said it probably 5 times at this point, but I can't emphasize how thankful I am for having this opportunity. Even though it's only been a few weeks since I disembarked, I still miss it just about every day. Everyone I met was fantastic, and I hope to see them all again in the future. To everyone involved that I did not get to meet, thank you for all of your hard work to make this event happen. From my family to yours, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful holiday season. Until next time, I'll see you somewhere out there by the rails, and as always, thanks for watching.